All right, episode 1. We've jumped onto the bandwagon officially.
The bandwagon of making podcasts just because you're in quarantine and have nothing else to do.
No, but we've actually put some effort into this.
Putting in
Not to
too
take-
much effort into this, man.
Well, it seems like it. Let's at least make it believable. So let's get started.
Okay, so,
First episode?
dude, yeah, okay. No, honestly, this I really wanted to talk about for quite some time. If I call anyone and they ask me how has quarantine been, I will kill people. I swear to God, I will kill people. Anyone, hi, hello, how's quarantine been? We're all at home. How is this supposed to be? It's supposed to be boring.
But it's a good icebreaker, man. You just call someone after a long time or you're hitting somebody up, sliding into DMs. And
Not happening, guys. Not
how's
happening.
quarantine, huh?
Not me, man. Not me.
I mean, okay, how else would you slide into a DM
How is
during the
it-
quarantine?
How was it happening before quarantine? How was it happening? Honestly, I do not know what I was talking with my parents before quarantine because it's all about corona. It's all about how the government is not dealing with or is dealing with or whatever they're doing with the situation. It's nothing else. We're not talking about, we're literally talking about nothing else. It's all just this. What were we talking about before quarantine?
I think what it comes down to is three things: how unhealthy your lifestyle is, politics, corona. I think that sums it up. Whatever conversation that you have.
Pretty much.
Bro, at this point, it's like every aspect of our life is either about the quarantine or about what we do after quarantine ends or how life was before the quarantine. It's like quarantine is the center of any conversation we have, man. Like this podcast, for example, it was started because of the quarantine. We're doing it right now in quarantine. And frankly, the topic of the episode is quarantine.
It's quarantine, pretty much. No, you brought an interesting topic about after quarantine. Let's talk something about that. College.
College, man.
Dude, it seems like another universe to me right now. I cannot imagine myself waking up early in the morning, getting to college, attending actual classes, actually listening in class. No, that's not happening for me. Offline exams, nope, big no for me. I don't know, man. And now we're getting news that college may reopen in November. I don't see that happening at all.
Well, one thing that I find to have not changed is me waking up at 8:50 for a 9 o'clock class.
No, that's happening on day one for me. I'm missing 9 to 10. Day one, I'm missing the first hour. That's happening. But dude, I actually feel kind of bad, man. Like we talk about all this. We talk about all this because we are in a situation where we can afford to talk about this, right? But there are quite a few people suffering. I'm not talking about those who got corona, those who can't afford to social distance. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the batch of 2021. Dude, I'm telling you, the batch of 2020 got much more than the graduation they deserved. I'm not saying they don't deserve such a good graduation. I mean, everyone's been talking about batch of 2020. They fully neglected the batch of 2021, but it's actually them that's missing the last year of college against their will.
The batch of 2021 is like the middle child of a family. Everyone is either talking about batch of 2020 which just passed out or the batch of 2022 who are like in quarantine having their second year. Everyone's forgotten about batch 2021. Like I told you, it's like the middle child. No one has talked about it since the quarantine has started. Like they're missing out on a lot of things. It's their final year of college. They're going to pass out and they're spending the entirety of the last year of college, which would have the minimal amount of studies and more about projects. So you wouldn't be spending much time on the campus, but roaming around, building your portfolio, trying to get everything done so that you land a job after you graduate. But then you're stuck at home doing it now. You can't like do much when you're stuck at home. For example, if you're a photographer, and you're just stuck at home, you can't keep taking the same 4 pictures from
Chella's
different
talking
angles.
about his life right now.
I'm
Chella's
telling you.
personally attacked by this.
Look, I'm a second year. I have photography as my course. I can't keep taking pictures of my dog for every other assignment that I'm given. Okay.
No one wants to see that as well, Chala.
Hey, shut up, bro. Dogs are cute.
Okay, no, but in all seriousness, no, that makes sense. That makes sense from a job point of view. But forget that. Talk about fun. Talk about the actual life that you're getting in college. To be honest, when we were in first years, when we were first years, the academic part of college had the least influence over my life because it was just 1 week before exams when I studied, took the exams, and it was all about the entire Bangalore life, something like that, right? But now all that is gone, and it's just the academics that remains. It's stupid crazy, yeah. What about it?
Talking about that, I feel very sad also, not just for the batch of 2021, but for the batch that just joined college. So they've been oriented about college only through and about like, academics, and they hating the college so much. Not any college, and that applies for any college. So they've missed out literally the major chunk of college life, and they're only exposed to online classes, and they complain about college. At least when we complain about college, we have been through a lot and we're complaining, so it's understandable. But for them, I think it's a bit too harsh on them as well. So they've missed out making new friends on their first day. They haven't even seen their friends in person yet. So I think that's a pretty hard thing, right?
But to be honest, Chella doesn't relate to the concept of making friends and missing out on not making friends. Let me just get that clear.
Well, I was his roommate for a year, and all I've seen him do is just game with a bunch of his friends from another city, and he calls that socializing, so I don't even know what that is.
Look, it's hard making friends when you're someone who hasn't had much of an experience holding on to friends in school, okay? But let's not get deep into it.
Yeah,
Let's
Chella
not-
was basically just social distancing before it was school. That's pretty much everything Chella was doing.
Look, this is getting too personal. Getting too personal, man. God damn it. But then, yeah, think about it. As Rahul said, the batch of 2023, that is our juniors who are getting into college. Like when we came into college, you said it was more about learning the social life of a new city or a new institution. But then now all they have are academics. But then when we went there, we had the privilege of going around this new city. But now the current batch, they're stuck at home. And then when they come back when they actually get into college, they'll be into second year, which means they do not have the leisure of the slack they get. They get the slack cut during the first year. I'm really sorry about that. They have a lot of leisure in first year, which they do not have now. They're stuck at home. They can't move around the new place. They can't get to know each other on a personal and intimate level. They're stuck at home, looking into screens, staring at blank faces, wondering what they're going to do when they're going into second year. Second year is a hell of a lot tough than first year. You have a lot more work. You don't have enough time to go around socializing.
And I still remember me dreaming about college when I was into the 12th standard every day, especially because I didn't have the best time in 12th standard mostly because of the pressure and all that. I used to dream about how fun college would be when I eventually went, right? And when I actually went there, although it wasn't as much fun, it was a responsibility as well. I still had a ball of a time. I had an amazing time first year. When it was happening, I didn't realize it, but right now I actually do. And sitting at home, having those 1 year of thoughts behind you, and those thoughts continue when you are actually in college, it's kind of crazy, man. And I don't know about other universities, but at least in our university, second year is when you become leaders of, clubs and, whatever it is. The first day of college, you're going to apply to become a leader of some club. That seems a bit crazy to me. I mean, my sister was talking about this to me, and she was talking about how we get disconnected from reality and how that is going to be a lot harder to, get on track than, it's going to be super hard to get back on track if you get disconnected from reality. That's like super crazy, man, if you think about it.
You are thrust into a new location which you were supposed to get used to during the first year. You're just like put in a new situation, put in a new environment. You're still figuring stuff out, trying to find places to live, trying to find places to eat, still trying to make friends. Yet you still have a lot of work to do, which you were not supposed to do during the first year. You weren't, pushed into doing a lot of work during the first year because that was a time given to you to acclimatize yourself towards the new environment. Now think about it. We were just getting used to living in a new city. We were just getting used to our college life when we were made to come back home. Now our minds and our psychological state have synced to living in a new city and just waking up every morning, going to college. But now we're back at home. We have nothing to do. Our minds are going crazy, man. We are frustrated of sitting in one single room the entire day, doing nothing. When you're adapted to go out, do something, even if it's not socializing. You're still working in a college campus. For example, for me, I used to work in theater. I used to go there early morning. I came back late in the evening. That was a lot of work for me, and I'm still used to that. I still want to do that because I've now adapted to that environment. So I'm pretty sure Rahul has the same experience with CSA. What do you think?
It's a pretty new feeling, I should say, because whatever we've spoken about, it all applies to all of us. But I feel there's some sort of difference that you're not a school kid, you're not a college kid exactly. You're used to being a college kid over there, but you're a college kid back at home. So all of the stuff that you used to do over there, including organization and all of the other activities, I feel like we've gotten so used to it that it's the new normal, right? So we're learning to accommodate such activities, such instances where we have to put ourselves over there. And I think that has been pretty hard for a lot of people out there, especially for the ones that are, very introverted or stuff like that. Because see, when it comes to talking about organizations and all, I think it has to be, a person to person interaction. So if all of this happens over Zoom and all of this happens over WebEx, and when you're just getting used to it, even if you're taking positions of, I don't know, leadership, or you're taking some roles in any organizations, I think it's very hard on all of these people. And I think that difference has been very stark for us, because we're not school kids exactly, because all of our roles is not very much like it, right? So that's what I was trying to say.
I mean, okay, so we've complained enough about this entire situation, but looking at the positives, right, of quarantine and of this entire lockdown, I realize how much I've taken college for granted. Because if this didn't happen, yes, we would have had 3 years in college, but I would have had 3 years of taking college for granted. I would not have realized how valuable this actually is, right? And now I have bonded a lot better with my friends, and the kind of plans we make or the kind of things that we plan to do, everything is from the point of view that we have missed 6 7 months of having fun and we want to catch up. Like, there's no more saying no to plans, there's no more saying no to going out on a Saturday night, there's no more saying no to going out for lunch, whatever it is, right? Our priorities have changed. We are going to be different people when we get back to college. First things first, we are going to find it difficult to socialize. Let's not forget that. All of us have been alone, all of us have been within our circle for a significant part of this year, almost majority of this year. And that is a long period of time for anyone. You could have been socializing for 18, 19 years, but if you are in, isolation for like majority of years, say 7 8 months, it is going to change you. It is going to change most people. And we are going to notice that when we get back to college. And that is something very important to acknowledge. But at the same time, it's going to be something very beautiful. We'll be rediscovering ourselves, basically.
I mean, personally, like you told, it's you bonded with your friends. That's what you said. Like you guys joked about that I was in my room the entire year. Yeah, I agree. It's not even a joke at this point. I was stuck in my room the entirety of it because I couldn't make friends for some reason. I was just that introverted in college. But then now during quarantine, I've been able to catch up with my friends so much. We have bonded over online, online classes, and we share our assignments. We help each other out. Not plagiarism, sorry, but we do help each other out a lot. And we started like during quarantine, gaming has developed a lot, and that is something we have bonded over. We play a lot of games. For example, Among Us is a really good example of people coming together during quarantine and bonding, and it's a really good game, man, and that has really helped me catch up with my classmates. And now I think when I go back to Bangalore, I won't be stuck in my room. I don't want to be stuck in my room. I want to move. I want to go out. I just want to walk around Bangalore just for the sake of it. Because if you think about it, Bangalore is such a beautiful city, and I've missed out on that so much. You can just walk in any part of Bangalore and it's still such a beautiful city. And this quarantine has, made me realize how much I've missed out on all that stuff, how much I've missed out on socializing, how much I've missed out on my classmates.
I think we've all learned to strike a balance between introvert and extrovert, right? So you said you found it hard to make a lot of friends and all of that. but you socialize through gaming and assignments and all of that stuff. I think that goes both ways with extroverts exploring the introverted side, because a lot of people found it very hard to be alone by themselves inside a house for a long time, right? So I think they've learned how to spend the time that you are by yourself and doing a lot of things. Because back then we had a lot of work, we still do, but during a period of May and June, I think we didn't have a lot of work, we didn't have classes, and we just had nothing. We could do literally anything out there. I think we've gotten better in spending our time by ourselves, such as not just by spending time watching content or consuming content like reading or writing, but we've also learned to think for ourselves. I think the introspection element comes in over here. I'm sure almost everyone out there will have thought about what is life. Sort of all of that deep 12 o'clock thoughts would have come up. And I think that's a very beautiful thing, right? Introverts taking the extrovert side, extroverts taking the introvert side. I think that's one of the good things about quarantine. And it's been spoken about a lot, yes. But I find that not a lot of people still appreciate the good things that come out of the quarantine.
Okay, so there are two ways of looking at this. First thing is quarantine has changed your life. It's going to be different. Everything's going to change. Everything's going to become more beautiful, or it's going to go for the worse. Basically, it has a permanent effect, right? But if you think about it, I do not believe that. So I was talking to a few friends of mine, and they were like, okay, so this corona has taken our country like 5 years backwards, 10 years backwards, and we're going to be stuck in isolation for the next 1.5 years. We're going to get scared to go out, all of that. Dude, all that's just so pessimistic. I do not believe that. If you remember, I'm sure you all would have experienced this as well. Summer holidays, right? Back in school, we had 2.5 months of summer holidays. And the last couple days of summer holidays, you will be super excited to go to school for that first day to meet your friends, right? And when that happens, it's beautiful. But the first day, when it gets over, that night, you're like, oh God, I should go to school tomorrow again. That's when reality kicks you. And you're like, okay, holidays are over, it's back to work again. So what I feel is, okay, this could go two ways. You could either have a permanent effect, or when you get back to college or when you get back to your routine, work, school, whatever it is, it could be exciting for like a week, and then you go back to whatever you were doing. You go back to doing whatever you do. I'm telling you, I wouldn't be surprised if Chella got back into gaming and he refused to come out of his room again for another year, because that's what he was doing. No matter what, okay, he can talk about going out, even I can talk about going out, meeting new people when I'm sitting inside my house. But when the time to do it actually comes, then your decision changes more often than not.
I mean, there are two ways to describe quarantine, man. You can either consider quarantine as a coin and the good and bad are two sides of it, or you can consider the quarantine as a glass with water up to its halfway mark. Okay, if I were to describe it, I would say I would take the glass situation. Sometimes I feel the glass is half full, sometimes I feel the glass is half empty. But then you have to consider the glass still has water in it. The point is that, regardless of the situation, it's quarantine. You can't change it now. You just have to wait it out. And it's up to you to look at the way it is. I mean, to change your perspective depending on how you want to be. Like, for example, my first few months of quarantine, I was really negative about it. I was like, actually, no, I was actually positive about it because I was stuck in my room. It wasn't a change of environment for me. But now, as time goes by, it is actually negative for me because I feel so frustrated sitting in one place. Because when I was stuck in my room, I still had the option of going out, and I did. I used to go out for dinner, I used to go out for lunch. I still went outside to college and interact with my classmates, but I can't do that now. I can't even come and meet you guys, which is very rare. And I get to meet you guys like what, once a week, twice a week?
Pretty much.
Which is mad because we used to live together every single day of college, man. We used to like see each other every day, and now I legit miss you guys on a day-to-day basis.
Dude. Exactly. How come Chella being open with his emotions?
So yeah, as I was saying, at this point, it's up to each individual's perspective, and it's in their control of how you see the situation. The situation is what it is. It is what it is. But then it is up to us to take charge of the situation and do what we want to at this point with what we have.
Yeah, there's actually a pretty interesting thing that you brought up. okay, it's safe to say that you were primarily an introvert in college, right? But I wasn't that, and for good reason, because I cannot be alone with my thoughts. I cannot. And I find comfort in meeting new people, in seeing people and interacting with people, and creating an environment for myself where I do not have to be alone with my thoughts, right? And since you brought this point, I'm telling you, you loved the beginning of quarantine, right? Because it was just an extension of what you were doing, essentially what you were doing in Bangalore. I hated the beginning of quarantine because it was a total change and I didn't know what to do. I was doing everything that I wasn't supposed to, not like, not bad stuff. But remember we discussed how we were going to, keep ourselves fit and all that when we got back to Coimbatore? I tried doing that, but I went to another extent where I wasn't eating properly. I was working out in all the wrong ways, like in ways which I wasn't supposed to. Everything went haphazard. My sleep schedule was gone. I was sleeping at like 5 a.m. in the morning. Not because I wanted to sleep late, just because I couldn't. It was super crazy. Everything went out of sync for me. Everything went out of tune for me. And it's very interesting that you say you found comfort in the beginning of quarantine because how you take quarantine depends upon how you were before it, right? And how you go out of quarantine depends upon how you developed yourself during quarantine. So I think we've developed ourselves to be pretty similar people right now during quarantine, and it will be very interesting to see how we approach life once we go out eventually. Because right now, all of us, we're pretty similar. Because you find the same level of comfort in quarantine that I do right now. So once we go out, how that changes, how that skews basically is going to depend upon our mindset. And we really don't know what our mindset is. I don't know what my mindset is. You don't know what your mindset is.
I mean, it's like what Rahul said, man. We are all balanced people right now.
Yeah, well, we're not very sure on whether it benefited us in a good way or it affected us in a bad way. But one thing is for sure that we've all changed in some aspect or the other. And like Rushil said, how you look at it after you get back is one thing, yes. But I feel like we'll have more clarity on how we're going to be looking at things because we kind of know what we want at this point. Because I think we've put in enough thought into it, and no matter what. I think that is what has made this quarantine, a good thing for most people. Even if you consider it to be bad, like the water situation, half filled and all of that, I feel like it's mostly because we've increased the precision of our thoughts. We've increased the type of thoughts that we're gonna have. So I feel like that is something that's good we get out of this.
And yeah, I think the precision of thoughts comes from the amount of time you spent with our thoughts. And let's get out of all this philosophical, all this
Stuff.
I don't know, yeah, this philosophical stuff. Yeah, but okay, let's all be honest. It's going to be a ball, man, when we get out. It's going to be an absolute ball. I don't know how much freedom we will get because even if we get to go back ultimately, or if people like in Coimbatore or wherever, when school starts eventually, y'all are gonna have mad fun. I'm telling you, at least for the first week or first 2 weeks, dude. I'm super excited for that period of time, man. Like, I don't know how it's gonna be when we get back to normal. Like, I don't know how we're gonna be 2 months into getting back into normal, but I know for sure that 1 week or that 2 weeks, that initial stage, it's gonna be mad. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be absolute bonkers.
Hopefully, we don't get too excited and Corona starts spreading again. That shouldn't be.
I mean, no matter what, I think no matter what, if until we get a vaccine or something like that, whenever things reopen, cases are going to increase. And that's something countries have been doing, right? They just open up everything, let cases go up as much as it can, keep it open, and it comes down whenever it comes down. I think that's what the US has been doing. That's what quite a few countries have been doing. And no matter what, even if we go out now today, even if everything opens up today, or even if everything opens up in April 2021, cases are going to go up if we don't have a remedy for it. So it really makes no sense, getting scared, staying at home indefinitely, especially if you know that the solution is nowhere near, at least now. I'm being very frank right now. of course, we will have to stay safe and all that, but there's no point in being paranoid about the entire situation.
Well, it's understandable why people feel that way because of all they've seen and stuff like that. But there is some truth to your point. But I still feel that we should be precautious. You should take all of the necessary precautions. I think there's a difference between not being paranoid and being stupid. So what people have started doing at this point after 4 months or 5 months of quarantine is that you've stopped caring. So that is not, they've stopped being paranoid, yes, but they're also being stupid. Whatever social distancing norms that you wanted to follow is not being followed anymore. So I think that is what is the differentiator.
I mean, yeah, I think that's what I was getting at. You cannot be paranoid. Of course, I'm coming from a background where I haven't experienced someone immediately close to me, get affected seriously. And of course, many people have, and their experience is going to be different. Their experience of this entire pandemic. But being paranoid for the general population is different from just being cautious. And I'm saying don't be too scared of it, just be responsible. That's all. And many people do not have the option of being responsible. I think you all would have seen this very recently, this Mumbai local train. It's filled, it's crowded. I think you've seen that, right? And I really can't blame those people because they have no other option. And I see these people going on Instagram complaining about, how people aren't being responsible, how they're taking the local train, how they don't care about social distancing. And those are the people that can afford to care about social distancing. The people on Instagram, the people on Twitter are the ones that can afford to care about social distancing. The people on the train cannot afford to do that. People are finding every small reason to complain about everything that's happening in this country related to coronavirus right now. They don't realize that majority of the population don't have an option. And that's something they really have to realize.
I mean, as they say, it is the new normal, man. And I think it's time that we do follow every single precaution that we have to take in order to stay safe. But at some point, you have to go out, mostly because of the economic status of yourself. You need employment at certain point. You can't keep sitting at home, especially people of the lower economic strata. We are privileged enough to be sitting at our homes and complaining that we can't do anything and complain that people aren't following social distancing. But at one point, we have to realize certain people, they just cannot stay at home purely because their lives depend on it. Lives depend on money more than disease at one point, especially when you're not as privileged as most people are.
I mean, we have had a pretty solid discussion, man, and that was episode 1. And yeah.
So, I think on that note, it's time to cut the cameras.